You are watching Conscious Evolution with Wes Heffernan.
So do we have to have a Jeffrey Dahmer? Absolutely not. Jeffrey Dahmer happens because we're not taking care of our internal workings individually, which allow a collective problem to occur, which allows this individual that has problems himself to be the weakest link that this is expressed in its worst possible imaginable way. So we can't do away, imagine if he would have gotten that love and attention and affection that he was so adamantly after as these demons were growing inside of him. He became who he became because he couldn't get the love he was looking for. How sad is that, right? How many people's lives did it cost because nobody loved Jeffrey Dahmer? Nobody would love Jeffrey Dahmer. And obviously that's an extreme. Hitler's another one. Did Hitler have to happen? No, it didn't have to, but he did because we didn't address problems. Issues became problems, and problems became more, and more became Hitler, right? And so how do we stop that flow? All right, we can't stop the cycles, we can't stop there being issues, but we can stop there from being problems, or those issues becoming problems. But it's going to take us all working together. It's going to take being honest with each other. It's going to be about doing this, telling your story. It's going to be about learning to have empathy. It's going to be about, you know what, you can be right too. It's going to be about, well, I'll tell you what it's going to be about. I love football, right? It's like one of the greatest sports there is, and it's a competition, right? And on its surface, it is this team versus this team, head on, knocking heads, who's the best. And on the surface, it looks like it's such a divided sport, right? Team A, Team B fighting each other. But think about how much we have to agree on, right? How many things we have to unify ourselves about in order for that sport to take place. A, we have to agree to play on the same field, wear the same uniform, go by the same rules. We agree to participate in particular ways. And so all the inner workings of this game of football is about working together and a unified and agreeing, right? The only place that it shows up as this is on the very surface. All of life is that way. And being able to see below that surface opens your eyes to the fact that, you know what, these two things that seem so separate are only that way at the surface. And the deeper you go, the closer they get to you can understand that it's one thing expressing itself in two fashions, because you have to in order to have life, right? You have to have form, and you have to have the breath that fills it and gives it life. And so the masculine side of that, the fire side, is about structure. It's about building form. It's about creating the capacity to have something. And then the feminine side, the matriarchal side, is about coming in and filling that. And then if the two aren't communicating, right? How do we know if we're building what needs to be filled, or how do they know they're filling what, right? So we're sitting here with our backs away to each other, or even worse, facing each other arguing, when we really need to be discussing, what's right about what's going on. What can we do to move forward? Hey, I don't like the way this is going. Okay, let's talk about that. Tell me, what do you feel? Tell me why you think that. You know what? You're right. I need to make an adjustment over here. And in what we do in the field, we see that play out. I may see something, Lonnie sees something, and we may not necessarily agree on the next step to take to make it right. And we'll sit there and we'll talk about it, and discuss it and figure out what we're going to do. But
you have a playbook. You have your plans. Things don't always go exactly the plan. Right?
No, never, never. That's one of the things it was hardest for me to learn, because again, controlling. I plan everything, right? And then I learned that one of the worst things that we can really have is expectations, because the only way we hurt ourselves is by having expectations greater than what that we expect can return, right? And so I was like, but I've got to plan. Our expectations and planning, they're hand in hand. Like, I know it feels as if expectations is not a good thing, and so, but I've got to plan. Like, I've got 6 people on the road flying all over the place, hotels, this, that. I have to plan. And so what I found out was it's expectations of other people that you have to let go of, right? And you have to have a plan and understand that while you have a plan, that's going to be the one for sure way it's not going to go, right? And so then you look at what all do we have to think about on the sides of those plans. If this, then this, if that, then that. And so when we go to work tomorrow morning, right, this group doesn't do it quite as well as me and Lonnie do, but we'll sit down and we're going to talk about every possible thing that could occur that crosses our minds tomorrow. And so if it happens, if our plan doesn't go as planned, then we've already addressed 2 or 3 steps down both directions, regardless of what it is. And so we just move right into it, getting back to the plan, right? So it's always about getting back to the plan. Even if you stray from it, you get back to your core, you get back to your truth. And in our logo, the Rockman Enterprise logo, you have the 3 columns, the 3 paths. The middle path is the way. It's the capital T truth. It's the mind. It's God. But man can't really afford the sacrifice to travel that path, right? Someone already has for us, and that opened the doors for us to be able to make the journey. I am, right. I don't have to sacrifice my son. I don't have to sacrifice myself to reach the goal. I have to sacrifice a lot, but I don't have to make that sacrifice, right? And honestly, that was the realization, and it slapped me so hard. Yeah, and it had been sneaking up on me because I had thought about this, and I had a conversation with my dad, which I let go of the last few things I was holding on to about how he hurt me when I was younger. And I don't think I could sit here and do this and talk about it had I not had that conversation the way that it happened, which was a good way, we were arguing. It came up, and I was actually creating a red pill, blue pill moment for Taylor is what I was trying to do. And Lonnie instigated this, right, in some way, shape, fashion, or form, to help push, to help Taylor to take that first step, right, to ask that question, to consciously choose to expand his understanding of self. And so, Taylor has no clue about this, but there was a little bit of planning that went into some of that. And so here I am going through these things, this matrix concept, red pill, blue pill, what they represent. Yeah, I'm only going to tell you in 3 words what each pill is, and you get one question, right? And then I have this long talk with my dad, and then I'm driving. I'm in my trip from Detroit, Michigan to Augusta to drop the truck off with my dad for him to come up here. And these thoughts I can't even explain exactly what those thoughts were, but I saw them race through my mind, and then it stopped on what is going to be your last sacrifice. You're standing there now. It's all the questions you've had. You're standing at the threshold of all the answers. The truth, not my truth, but the truth, as best as I, as an individual, will be able to comprehend it and understand it. I stand at the threshold of that, and I'm being asked right now, what are you going to sacrifice? Are you going to sacrifice yourself or your son? That was hard because it felt like this was so like, why do I have to make that choice? And like tears running, and I can't make that choice, but I have to make a choice. And they're like, red pill or blue pill, sir? I'll give you 3 words to explain what they each represent, and you get 1 question, but you're gonna have to choose. And like everything I set up for Taylor, I had to go through. I set it up for myself, for that last moment of what are you gonna, what's your sacrifice? Are you gonna choose to sacrifice it? Are you gonna sacrifice, at first it was like, are you gonna sacrifice everything you want so your son can live? Are you gonna sacrifice your son so you can grow and evolve and expand yourself? And that's how it expressed itself to me. I made a choice. And then I contemplated that choice, and then that's when I really began to understand what Jesus did for me, right? Like, that choice is only a mental choice. Obviously, I don't have to kill myself or go kill my son. Like, obviously, that's not the case, right? And I did understand that, but it still hurt so much that I would have to make this choice. And then he began comforting me. Well, you know, now you understand. You understand the choice that God had to make. You know, God sacrificed his son for the greater good of all, so that consciousness in God could grow and expand itself into more. And that choice never has to be made again. Not in the physical sense, but we still have to get there here.
Thanks for watching. Join us next time on Conscious Evolution. Don't forget to subscribe.